actually put those of you that are going to be graduating soon, if you're interested in a career in psychology, it just looks good on college, on applications and your resume. And it's a good thing to do for our campus. Another key program that you probably are familiar with is our mental health check-ins. These check-ins have been going on for years, and we had very large numbers attended the mental health check-ins before I started. And pre-COVID, we had almost 100 people attended these sessions. They're really quick. It's maybe a 5-minute check-in with a counselor, and then we always give USD style some type of an incentive. We noticed some of our numbers were going down a little bit. We weren't having as many people come to our dinners, and I get it. People are could be connected already with our counseling center, with Timely Care, with your therapist off campus. But there's some folks who there still is a lot of stigma around mental health, and folks may have a need to talk to somebody, but may not want to go to seek Timely Care, Counseling Center, et cetera. So this is an initiative that we actually were recognized in the Princeton Review. We got really great marks for a leader in mental health support for students. And so we changed things up recently because we're trying to take the show on the road a little bit or reach different populations. So last December and then again last Friday, we brought barbers to campus, and we did the incentive for students to come and do this quick mental health check-in. After they met with a counselor for 5 or 10 minutes, they got a free haircut. And Schwip turned into this really fun barbershop style hangout spot with music and snacks, and it was great. So we're hoping to do that again next semester. Hopefully ASG will fund it. But anyway, those are just a couple highlights of kind of some of my passion projects, I would say, that we've done this year. Coming up soon is our traditional Nourish to Flourish. We always do the week before finals week to support all of our USD students. We have our team of health promotion interns are trying to mix it up a little bit this year. We always do the build your own self-care kits. We always bring the therapy dogs. Those are always a big hit. But this year, the top 3 are newer initiatives that we're thinking of doing: a sound healing event, maybe outdoors, maybe in the new wellness center. We haven't quite figured it out where it's gonna be yet. A gratitude Sunday bar. Everybody likes ice cream. I don't know, I like ice cream and toppings on. But tie it in with some affirmations and mental health support. And then also we're thinking of partnering with Campus Rec for a glow in the dark nighttime bingo. I don't know why this cut off, sorry about that. One of my passion projects since coming here, my background, I have my master's in public health. I previously worked for the state public health department, and so one thing I'm really proud of and what Schwip has taken on is expanding our Narcan training and distribution program. So there are 2 ways to get Narcan here on campus. The first of all is our asynchronous online training there isn't a QR code, but the link's in there, and if you just Google USD Narcan, you'll get to the link for the asynchronous training, which is really easy. It's like 10 minutes. You watch a video, you answer some questions, and then you come to our office for a really quick visit with a counselor for about 5 minutes, and you can pick up your Narcan. We're really trying to market this in advance of Coachella, Stagecoach, all the other events that are coming up this spring. So we're trying to get Narcan in the hands of more USD students and faculty as well. We also do live trainings, and next week is our final in-person session. If you're like, oh, I've done enough online trainings, that's not my style, I want a free lunch. You folks in the back, the rugby team, I already said, I'd love it if you all came to our in-person training next Tuesday. It's going to be in Forum A, and it is a 90-minute session where we bring extra outside presenters as well, and then Arthur Cummins from Department of DPS does a really great hands-on practice of how to use Narcan in a situation of an overdose. You probably can't read it, but I'm really excited that this year we've gotten 161 students and staff who have received Narcan. 78% of those did the online training. All the RAs were trained this year this way. If any of you are an RA, you probably did it that way. And then 35 folks, or it's 22%, if I can do my math, have done the in-person training. Another great initiative that, again, I'm very thankful to ASG for providing funding is our Toreros Thrive Together integrated wellness class. It's a collab between the Center for Health and Wellness Promotion and Campus Rec. And so every semester, we start in the fall, we're doing it right now. Right after this, I'm gonna run over and participate in our class. It's an 11-week class, primarily geared for first-year students, but also transfer students, and I mean, anyone's eligible to take it, but it really focuses on life skills and holistic wellness. Our evaluation of our pilot that we did last fall showed the program was very successful. Students reported significant increases in their reported ability to manage stress, reported increased participation in activities that promoted their well-being, and an increased frequency of feeling joy. All of our thriving student focus areas. And last but not least, in our violence prevention side, this is led by Sarah Diamond on our staff. She's implemented some really great programs this year in collaboration with her RSVP peer educators, the Relationship and Sexual Violence Prevention peer educators. Their Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the fall reached 201 students, and the Violence Prevention Certificate has trained 20 people so far. And then launching next Tuesday is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, with you'll see all sorts of really great offerings throughout the month. And if you're available next Tuesday, if you're not at the Narcan training, but you all will be, so you won't be able to go to SAM, but no, you should pick, or go to both if you can. At Colaches Plaza is gonna be our first ever SAM Fest. So they're putting on a whole bunch of activities that are gonna be really exciting. I think this may be my last slide, and again, sorry for the way this is formatted. I don't really know why this happened. So we are moving. We're very excited. I have heard ribbon cutting ceremony is the 22nd of April. We're moving in sometime before then. I don't know exactly when, but we at Center for Health and Wellness are super excited to be there and to have right outside of our space the wellness lap terrace and juice bar, test kitchen, all sorts of things. So we hope you join us at that ribbon cutting ceremony, and there's gonna be a great like scavenger hunt, and you'll get to go around and come to Schwip if you want one of these really cool fidget toys. These are the good ones we got for the opening. They're, I don't know, extra squishy. Students really seem to like them, so I hope you come visit us. And last but not least, so what's next? So we are continuing with our mental health check-ins. We are going to different spaces on campus. We are in dialogue, actually just very recently with FUSO, and trying to do some type of collab when we're in the Wellness Center, maybe to involve the Teaching Kitchen in April or early May. We are working on new branding and marketing for our Be Well USD, which is our website, but also trying to, doing actually a campaign along with our JED initiative, and working with marketing and comms to really enhance the like next year. I think somebody from comms will probably call them our JED and talk about next year as the year of wellness. So our recruiting, in case any of you are interested in a position, a paid position, in the next 2 weeks, I think, is when the RSVP and our health promotion intern positions will be posted. So hopefully you follow Be Well Instagram, our site, for information about how to apply. And we are also launching a Wellness Ambassador pilot program this spring. It's gonna be similar to the Alcala Club, which is a service organization, high level, where how the Alcala Club supports the president. This group of ambassadors will support our Wellness Center and all of our wellness initiatives on campus, both to students but also to visitors to campus. And I think that's it. If there are any questions for me, I can stay up for a minute, and then if not, we'll invite Dr. Howlett to talk. No? Well, I hope to see you all at a Narcan or QPR training in the near future.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, lovely Senate. Good afternoon, lovely Senate. If you all are. Okay, great. Wonderful. Well, unlike Anne, I'm not new to you all. I'm regular to you because you see me quite often. I know most of you, or at least you know my face. And so Anne invited me earlier this week to join her today to provide an update on what's been going on with hazing prevention and education. I've been spearheading the core team that's been working on this initiative since the fall of 2023. And we've made a lot of progress, so I'm really pleased to have been invited to share with you all where we're at with it. So we joined an organization called Stop Hazing, and it's out of the University of Maine. And they've been working on hazing prevention and education for almost 20 years now. And the work that they have been doing is research-based, evidence-based work that, or initiatives that actually work to help reduce incidences of hazing and really help to educate students and other folks on campus regarding hazing. So it is a 3-year commitment that the University of San Diego is a part of. We're currently in year 2. And what you see here on the screen is what we accomplished during year 1. So we joined the consortium, Stop Hazing, and that is ongoing. That's what I just spoke to you about. And then we formed a core team here. It's a team of 6 individuals, and you'll see on a slide coming up all the folks that are on that team. And they have been the group that have been working on this initiative since October 2023. During that first year, we were focused on assessment and gathering data about what hazing may or may not look like here at USD. And so we did that in 3 different ways. First, we completed a self-assessment rubric. This is a rubric that is produced, again, it's research and evidence-based, and it's produced by the Stop Hazing organization. And we took ourselves through that rubric and subjectively graded ourselves on how we thought we were doing. And I can let you know that if there were grades on that assessment, USD would have gotten an F. And I think many of you probably would agree with that. And so we knew that we had a lot of work to do to get our campus ramped up. And the second thing we did, and many of you participated in this, is we disseminated a student survey in the fall, towards the end of the fall of 2023, where not every student on campus participated in that survey, but it was randomized. And so some of you may or may not have answered questions regarding hazing. And there was lots of different and interesting insights that came out of that particular survey. And then the last thing we did was the folks from the University of Maine actually flew all the way across the country and did a 2-day campus site visit. And some of you did participate in that site visit, and they were actually able to interview groups of folks and individuals to gather a lot of information. So between the self-assessment rubric, the survey that went out to students, and the campus site visit, we were able to gather tons of data and tons of information to really help inform us in terms of our best approach going forward for USD. From all that information, we were able to submit recommendations to Vice President Charlotte Johnson of Division of Student Affairs, and she took it to the president and his leadership team, and they endorsed, the recommendations we sent forth were layered over the next 3 years, and so they endorsed and approved all of the year 1 recommendations that we presented to them. So that was all done in year 1. Year 2, the current year that we're in, we did form 2 different teams. We formed a team that we call a coalition team and a team called our specialist team. So our coalition team is really our boots on the ground individuals who are rolling up their sleeves and actually doing the work with the core team. And they are really helping us think through critical elements of what we need to do. They're helping us think through what the infrastructure would look like for hazing prevention and education, helping us come up with definitions of what hazing is at USD, so forth and so forth. So again, on an upcoming slide, you'll see who the members of the coalition team are. And then the specialist team are individuals that we call in on an as-needed basis. So they're specialists. So we, for instance, we invited Danny Michelle Rivera, who works in the Division of Student Affairs. Some of you may know her. She knows how to develop websites. And so we're currently in the process of developing a hazing prevention and education website. And we called Danny Michelle in to help build that and structure that out. We are currently developing a USD standard definition of hazing, and we actually have a draft proposal of that, and that's going to the university leadership as well, because they have to review that and they have to approve that. I just mentioned the website, so we are almost done with the website, and we are working on a community statement regarding hazing, so basically a hazing policy statement. And then this year we started asynchronous online hazing prevention education, which is called Stand Up to Hazing, and all of you, well, those of you that were in Senate in the fall, you all went through this particular online training. And to date, we have over, it says 746, but we have, I think, well over 800 students and staff and some faculty that have gone through this training. As a matter of fact, the athletic department, all university student athletes, all coaches, and all staff in university athletics have completed this particular training. So that's year 2 where we're at. Here's that slide I kept referring to, so you can see who's who. So the core team is on the left, so that's the team that's been working since fall 2023. It is represented by folks from student affairs and university athletics. The coalition team is the group there in the middle, and that is the team that has really been helping do the work. You will see our lovely Ann Cass on there. She's number 2 up there. And so that's one of the reasons why Ann called me in, because I've been working with Ann, and Ann's like, Byron, I think you know way more than this about this. Can you come and do this with me? So I was like, sure. So that's the group there, and then on the right are the specialists. All right, so what are our next steps going into year 3? We plan to roll out the website in fall 2025. On that website will also be, at the very top of that website will be a reporting button. Because a lot of people say, yeah, I witnessed hazing, but where do I report it? How do I report it? One of our goals is to make reporting super easy, super simple, and it can be anonymous if the person wants it to be that way. So we are working on that currently. We also will be at the beginning of fall 2025 sending out a campus-wide, this will be from the, well, I don't know if it'll be from the president, but it'll be from someone higher up in university leadership. It'll be a campus-wide statement regarding hazing prevention and education. We are currently in the process of developing an in-person educational workshop, which is something that is recommended to do. And then we also will be creating, we're currently creating a social media educational campaign. And then we're looking at centralizing the reporting process and determining where transparency data lives about hazing. And then we are also expanding our education and programs for students, faculty, and staff in the fall. So, the Stop Campus Hazing Act is now a law. This is an act that was presented to the U.S. Congress during fall of this past year, so fall 2024, and it passed both branches of Congress, both the United States Senate and the United States Congress, by unanimous votes. And President Biden, former President Biden, signed the act into law on December 23rd, 2024. So what this does, it does several things. So it, as you see here, it amends the Higher Education Act. It requires institutions participating in Title IX programs, which we are, to track and include hazing incidents in our annual security reports. It creates a national standard for reporting requirements of hazing incidents. Before this law, there was nothing that said that schools had to report and keep track of hazing incidences. This empowers students and their families to make informed decisions about the schools that they attend and the organizations that they join. I can't see what's on the bottom there. And then it creates a culture of reporting among students and employees. Because I'm sure many of you, if not all of you, have witnessed something on campus and you're like, is that hazing or not? And so we want, the goal of this is to protect each other. We want to protect all of our toreros. We want to protect our human dignity, and there are ways that we can do that in a productive way. We want to hold, the law holds universities accountable for naming and responding appropriately to hazing reports. It makes hazing education, awareness, and prevention priorities at all universities. And we're lucky because we got to jump on this versus many other universities across the country, because we've been working on this since fall 2023. Other campuses, they are starting from scratch, like now. We have to come up with a statement of current policies related to hazing, and you saw what in my previous slides, year 2, that's what we're doing currently. We have to come up with a statement, a hazing policy statement, which again, that's what we're doing. And then we have to create a campus hazing transparency report, which will live on the hazing prevention and education website. So anyone can go to that website and actually see how many instances of hazing have been reported, and there's some other detailed information that people so the whole goal of this is to become very transparent. So the timeline of implementation of the federal law now is the first deadline passed. So January 1st, all schools were supposed to begin collecting statistics on hazing incidents and develop hazing policies, procedures, and programs. So we are doing that right now. By July 1, every school has to implement hazing policies, procedures, and prevention programs and start collecting hazing information, incident information. So we currently are on track to have that all done. As a matter of fact, our goal is to have this all done by June 23rd, so about a week before the deadline. And by December 23rd, we have to make our first transparency report publicly available on our website. So we will be far ahead of that. And then by October 1st of next year, 2026, our Clery manager, Magali Perez, has to have the first annual security report containing hazing statistics and policy statements. So that is where we are. We've been doing a lot of work in a year and a half. We have a lot more work to go. And we appreciate all of the commitment and work that you all have done as well regarding hazing prevention and education. Any questions? Or speaker?
Thank you. Do we have any questions at all? Just to clarify, all freshman year students will be doing this training from now on at orientation, or are they currently?
Yes, thank you for asking that, Valeria. So starting, the proposal that we're going forth with is that starting in the fall, all students, even returning students, so those of you that are coming back, every year you will take the online educational modules, similar to what you do with diversity, with alcohol awareness. I think you do that one as well, annually. Then first year students, all first year students, be they fresh people or transfers, will, in addition to the online, they will actually do an in-person educational. And that will be done through the living learning communities.
Thank you. I just have one more question. I just want to know what the impact. I mean, it's great that we're introducing them to the student population. It's just I've heard so much feedback, negative feedback on the alcohol and the sexual assault course trainings that we have to do online. I'm just worried that this might turn into something like that and people will just overlook it instead of actually taking it seriously. Are we gonna measure, these things, or are we measuring also the other ones? Because I just have a question on that. Maybe you all have more insight on it.
Yeah, so I can't speak to the others, but for this one, for all the work we do around hazing prevention and education, data and assessment is very important because it really helps shape where we move. So if we're getting certain information back that maybe, like you said, Valeria, is negative, then we need to figure out how to reverse that because we need people to own this because it's all of our responsibilities.
Yes, and I don't know if this is on, but
Go ahead, yes.
okay, so thank you, Valeria, for mentioning that. And yes, our office manages the online trainings that are mandatory, the student wellness trainings. These were previously managed by Claire Maxwell, who was our Associate Director for Health Promotion, who recently left USD. So I'm now getting more involved in the actual workings of the vector trainings, and I would love your feedback. I mean, it's for all schools. My son's up at USF, like he has to do the same thing, but all schools have it. But if you have particular recommendations about either the specific content or the style or what, and we as employees need to do these same annual trainings as well. And it's such a balance as a health promotion person of asynchronous trainings are a great way to get information to a lot of people, standardized information, but I understand their limitations as well. So I would love to follow up with you or anyone else. Maybe we can have a little chat.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I will be reaching out.
Okay, others who have feedback, because I know there is concern rate for like one more training. At least the hazing one, we recently demoed all sorts of different ones. The vector one, we decided was the best, so we're going forward with collaborating and expanding our contract with vector. It's like 20 minutes, it's the shortest of all of them, but it's another training that folks will have to do.
Thank you. I know we actually have two people on stack, the sustainability coordinator.
Hi, thank you so much for coming and talking to us. I was just wondering, for like the reports of hazing, how do you guys go about just like verifying that the report was like, I mean, if it's made by an individual or a group, or like how do you verify that the report is accurate, I guess?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there is an investigation process to go. So we take every report seriously, and we respond immediately. We just actually had a report yesterday, and so we have our investigation team who will, and you're absolutely right. Not all of those turn out to be true, so we don't necessarily believe it. You know, we go in with a very neutral stance, but we have to respond to it as if it did happen, and then the investigation team, they know what they're doing.
The student rep chair.
Thank you both for coming in today. I really appreciate the work that you both are doing for the well-being of our students. I did have a question. How will, in any of the incentive programs, or sorry, not incentive programs, any of the programs that you are implementing, how will you get more student leaders involved, such as FSL org presidents, sports club presidents, any kind of org presidents, or anyone in a leadership position to be more involved and to be more aware of what you're doing?
Yeah, for hazing prevention and education, this past year, we made it a requirement for you all, whoever was in Senate, you went through it. And we had all student club orgs, their leadership go through it, club sports went through it, so the rugby team went through it, and all athletes and all fraternity sorority leadership. We're looking at expanding that for next year beyond the leadership, and part of our conversation currently is there some in-person education we can do with leadership as well? Because as Valeria said, the asynchronous online can only go so far, and you don't know what people really retain and how you measure that. But in person, it's more
Sorry.
impactful.
The time allotted for this agenda item is done.
We do have a packed agenda, however, 2 to 3 minutes. It's up to y'all. I believe won't hurt, but it's up to y'all. If not, we can move on.
I would love to talk to
Point
you,
of
but we can do
order.
it offline.
Speaker not recognized.
Sorry.
Please, go
Okay,
ahead.
sorry, I'm learning all these processes. I will connect with you offline, because I would love to hear more and figure out about how we can best approach student leaders.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Thank you all for those questions, and just make sure to reach out further if you do have any more. Now, next on the agenda is a presentation of ASG's recommendation of over $10,000 request by men's rugby. At this time, you can approach. You have the floor. Thank you. For this time, for just the presentation, technology will be put away. Once finance chair comes up, then we can have yours out. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Nate Leff. I'm the president of the men's rugby team,
My name is Daniel Sarrett. I'm the finance chair for the club.
and this is our playoff funding request for the 25 season. So a little bit about who we are. We are a student-led program. We have elected student leaders that oversee the coaching staff and the development of the 60-plus players that we have on the team. But more importantly, we are change makers, from defeating top-tier rugby teams on live television to making mentorship programs for the players. We are dedicated to supporting our players on and off the pitch. And a little bit about the success we've had. We won our first championship game in the 1970s, and fast forward to 2022, we've won 4 since 2022, and we are fighting for our 5th one this spring. So the playoff schedule that we have for this spring, we have a game April 5th against the NorCal champions, and when we win that game, we will move on to the 15th regional championship in Bellingham, Washington on April 19th. And after an undefeated fall season, we have jumped up to the #1 ranking in the D1AA ranks. And although our spot in this game is to be earned, we have advanced to the spot many times before, and we fully expect to win and get to this position. So when we win the 15th regional championship, we will move to Indianapolis, Indiana on May 1st through the 4th, and this is where we will compete in the national championship tournament. And at this tournament, it will be the top 4 teams in UNAA in the country, and they will all compete in a 4-day tournament to take home the title.
And so we were really excited to represent the school as a club and travel and compete in these opportunities. However, there is one major hurdle for this, and that is money. When we're looking at our travel up to Bellingham, Washington for April 18-19, there's a total, I broke down the cost into 4 different categories between flights, hotels, meals, and rental cars. We are aware of the new policy that we cannot get money for meals. We still wanted to highlight that this is a big financial burden on our club still. And so for this trip, it'll cost us a total of $16,000, mostly all in air travel. And then as we look towards the 2 weeks after that for the next 15th National Championship Tournament, once again, very large financial burden on our club. Same thing, mostly just air travel. But yeah, as you can see here, same 4 breakdowns. So overall, for these 2 weekends, it's going to be a very large financial burden on the club of $50,000, which is why we're here today. Yeah.
So outside of ASG funding, we do a little bit of our own funding, but we can't heavily rely on this because it varies from year to year. But for the past 3 years, we've ran successful change funding campaigns, and this covers operational costs, costs for our professional coaches, and gear and additional travel expenses for the club. And throughout the past year and semester, we've been compiling a list of businesses, vendors, and our sponsors like LSKD, Bartel Hotels, and we are continuing to reach out to donors to try and get the boys to another national championship and represent our school. And that is all we have for you guys today. Thank you for taking the time to have us and listening to our requests.
Thank you. At this time, we'll open up the floor to discussion. Just trying to keep them all. Senator Marzena.
Hello, thank you for coming in to present. You mentioned that you have sponsors. I'm wondering if you have like a number for how much the sponsors are giving you out of that like 50,000.
I mean, most of our sponsorships that we have already used this year, had earlier in the year, we've already used on gear and equipment. So it's still just going to be reaching out and seeing what else we can get for this. But right now, not a ton.
Senator Angel.
Thank you for coming in today. I do have a couple of questions. First, you guys did mention that, sorry, you both mentioned that you were change makers. In what ways would you say rugby is a change maker?
Yeah, so we have mentorship programs for our players where we get them in touch with our alumni association, and through that, our alumni association kind of directs them to kind of a positive career path and path through USD, because the alumni have already been through it and they know what it's like, so they try and help direct our current students and players.
Yeah, and then along with that, we've also worked with a number of different volunteer organizations around like the local USD or San Diego area to help try to make a positive impact around the local areas.
Senator Quinchero, then.
I appreciate that work you both do. I do have other questions, which are, I know Senator Marzena did mention about funding. You guys, I don't believe, gave a specific number. Do you have an estimated number of how much your members contribute and then the alumni/donors contribute?
Yeah, our dues that we charge total for like $400 for this semester, $350 for the past semester. But most of our dues, we try to keep that number as low as possible so that our players don't obviously can play with the not having to spend a lot of money. So most of that money goes just to equipment and jerseys for all of those guys. For our change funding campaign, last year we brought in, I believe, 20,000, and we're hoping to do the same. But as you mentioned, like that, we can't be sure how much that's coming in this year.
Chief Justice.
Did that $50,000 include meals?
Can you say that one more time?
Did the $50,000 number include meals or exclude meals?
It included that. I can pull up exactly how much that percentage was if you want me to. I believe 4,500 that's meals.
Senator Sam.
For the past 5 years, if each year you guys believe you're going to finals, what do you do differently each year to raise more money? Because obviously, you know, it's pretty expensive.
Yeah, I mean, it's about the same process every year because it is, like we said, we've done this for now 3 years in a row. So it's between taking advantage in the first semester of Truro Tuesday, and then between change funding and through this is where I'd say most of our money does come from, and then dues as well.
Student Commission.
This is quite a handsome amount of money you both are requesting. There are lots of student orgs, and we're only midway through the semester. Is there any budget cuts that you made, anything that your organization did to make this more affordable?
I mean, yeah, we do everything we can to bring this down. The struggle that we have is balancing that with trying to keep our dues as low as possible. Because like I said, we want to give, with a club of 60 plus players, it's hard to give everyone an equal opportunity. So what we're trying to do is keep those dues numbers low so everyone can enjoy that. But because of that, it's hard to find extra room in that budget for budget cuts.
Senator Jordan.
I was just wondering how much it cost in the past for you to attend these tournaments.
I want to say about similar. I believe last year was a little bit less, but the championship was in Houston versus Indianapolis, so it just comes out like flight differences and things like that. But I don't know the exact number, but
Also for this championship in Indianapolis, it is a 4-day tournament, and we are bringing 30 players because we will have more games and we need more backup for the team just in case there are injuries and other circumstances.
The President.
My question is just about how much you all fundraised from Truro Tuesday and if that money has been fully spent or you plan to use it for future games like these ones.
I believe it was over 35,000 that we raised, but yeah, we've just about spent all of that. Like I said, between charter buses, hotels, equipment, gear, there's just a ton of expenses that we have to do here.
The Finance Chair.
Senator Jordan, to answer your question, last year they requested 40,000, which was for 3 tournaments. In 2023, they requested 31,000, which I believe was only for 2 tournaments, and then 2022 was only 10,000, which is for 1.
Senator Jonathan.
This is more a question for the finance chair. How much of the funding that was allocated was used?
Can you repeat that question?
No, this is more for the.
Sorry, no.
Senator Jonathan.
For the finance chair, how much of the funding that was allocated towards them was used?
The Finance Chair.
In the past 2 years, they were allocated around 20,000. Last year they spent a little under 12,000, and the previous year, 2023, 13,000 was spent out of the 20,000.
Senator Jonathan.
And this goes to the players. It says for the hotel it's $333 per night for one of them, and then the other one $208. Can you give us a bit more information as to like what hotels and accommodations you're going to be using?
I mean, I don't have those names off the top of my head, but I know that we went through the USD like approved lenders and got our prices from that. But I don't have the exact names off.
The Student Commission.
I believe I did ask this question earlier about what you both have done to kind of cut this cost down from what you're requesting. Are you or are any of the players providing any kind of funding for them to participate in these specific events? And what money are you both using from reserves that you already have for these events specifically?
I mean, pretty much the rest of our budget is going to this. Like I said, the biggest thing is that change funding campaign, which isn't from our players, but our players are pushing that out as much as possible and sending that to just about every person they know.
Senator Jackie.
Yeah, so going off like the hotel question, I was just wondering like how many players per hotel room are you guys considering?
We do 4 per hotel room. We try to do 2 queen beds with pull-out couches, as many people as possible, pretty much in a room.
Okay, I just wanted to double check. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just a reminder, our poor parliamentarian keeps having to say point of order, please just be conscious of Robert's rules, so she doesn't choke on her water every time she has to say it. Thank you. Next on stack is once again the student org committee chair.
Do you have a specific number or an estimate of how much your org, aside from ASG's funding, is providing to make these events successful?
Yeah, we're hoping to match that 20,000 that we got in change funding last year. I mean, ideally we get more than that, but we have no way to be sure, so we're kind of budgeted about even from last year.
I actually have a question. Thank you so much for coming today. I hope you'll win. Just secondly, have there been any talks of installing this? I mean, you all seem very popular as an actual sport in the athletics department. Has there been any conversation of that?
We've been fighting for that for many years, but not a lot of traction. We've done everything we can, but no, we've tried.
This is for the finance chair. How many players attended those past tournaments?
The finance chair.
In 2024, sorry, this might be a very long answer, but for the sevens it was 15, for both 15th regionals and nationals it was 30. Previous year was also the same, that's kind of consistent to what they've also done this year with kind of double the amount of the actual players they need. 2023 was the same with the 30 students for the 15s and the 13 students for the sevens.
I believe that is everyone on stack. Senator Jordan.
The per diem amounts for the meals, is that a standardized number, or where does that number come from? The $21 per day for the first and then the 29.
I think it's just like an estimate to say for just to try to get for the budget, just to show you guys about what it would cost, but it's not an exact number.
All right. I believe if there's no further questions or any discussion, for the finance chair to have the floor. Thank you so much for.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
At this moment, we all can have technology out. Got a little ahead of myself. Oh, the finance chair, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Abby, for presenting on your request. Now I will be presenting on ASGBC's recommendation for these two requests. So just an overview, just a really quick one. I know I went through a more in-depth one last week, but just an overview of the members that are part of ASGBC. We have 6 student volunteers who represent 6 different areas of student organizations. We also have a TPB representative as well as 2 ASG senators. Non-voting members include the finance chair, the controller, and the advisor. Looking at the current ASGBC budget, this was last updated as of yesterday. Our beginning budget was $260,000. As a reminder, that comes from the spring allocations as well as fall rollover allocations. Currently, we have allocated $132,000, leaving us with a current available balance of $127,000. So it's roughly about halfway through our budget. The current balance, which is the last number, is the amount of funds that's actually left. Usually we allocate funding, but that funding sometimes isn't used until a little bit closer to the event, a little later in the semester. So that's why that number is a little different than the current balance. Looking forward to the spring semester, as I said before, this $132,000 has already been allocated. That has been allocated to a total of 137 requests. Currently we have 67 requests on 2 orgs, and the total amount being requested from those is $167,000.
Out of the 67 requests that are still on Twitter orgs, one of them is over 10,000, and 4 of them are around or between 9,000 and 10,000. So far, AHGBC has has 5 regular meetings as well as 2 additional meetings. We've had a lot of requests this semester, so we've had to have those additional meetings to get through those requests. For the rest of the semester, we have 6 more regular meetings, and we're hoping for at least 2 more additional meetings just to catch up on the amount of requests that we have. Usually on average, we review about 30 requests for each meeting, and we've normally been allocating around 20,000 per meeting this semester. That's just because we're having a lot more requests with bigger amounts, so that average has been increased from the previous semester. Before we get into AHGBC's recommendation, I want to just take a moment to talk about some points to consider. This is also on some points to consider from last week's presentation as well. How much money do we allocate for other events on campus? AHGBC funds around 100 student organizations, and with a weekly average around 30 requests every week, varying at different amounts. How does what we fund and support reflect AHG values, and how do we reach different groups of people on campus? And how do we balance the budget to ensure we can fund requests throughout the semester? This request falls in the sports clubs, regional championships, and playoff category, which is shared with every student organization. This category is also very similar to the convention, conferences, and retreats, just because they both requesting very similar costs of travel, lodging, and things like registration. So under this category, we have specific guidelines that are for $80 per person per night. Because of this guideline, AHGBC decided to stick with that guideline for that semester because previous requests from this year have been allocated at $80 per person. So if you do the math for $80 per person for both of these tournaments and the playoff game, this would be the total amount. So for the regional playoff is $1,920. That is the $80 per person times 20 for undergraduates, multiplied by the one night. For the national championships, it's $7,200. This is $80 per person, 30 undergrads, and 3 nights. For both of these are for undergraduates only. This can only be used for travel, transportation, and lodging. It cannot be put towards any food costs or any gas that may come from the rental cars. Looking into AHGBC's reasoning, this amount is consistent with how similar events have been funded for this year. So we just reviewed another sports club event this past meeting, and that was allocated at 80, and also any kind of other student organizations that are going to conferences or retreats have also been funded at that 80. To give some background on that $80 per person amount, where that kind of came from, it was decided in spring of 2023 for the following 2023-2024 school year. Before that, most of these events that fell in this category were funded in full. However, in the spring of 2023, they were seeing a lot of more requests and decided to implement guidelines to provide consistent and equitable funding to all student organizations. And I know this $80 per person is pretty low, especially looking at the cost of flights, lodging, and registration costs as well. However, funding in this category is meant to help subsidize costs, since AHGBC cannot cover the full costs. Additionally, it has been mentioned by Rugby that there is supplemental funding through change funding, sponsors, and partnerships. AHGBC has had to cut a lot of many other events, and just AHG in general has had to make a lot of budget cuts this semester. AHGBC has had the same budget for the past almost, I think, 2 to 3 years, and it doesn't help with the amount of the increase of requests that we are seeing, and also the increase of cost that we are seeing. So that's why the $80 per person has not changed. It's just meant to provide consistent and equitable funding and make sure that the funding does not run out before the end of the school year. As always, when it comes to voting, please vote to approve or deny AHGBC's recommendation. If denied, you can vote for a new funding amount, or you can vote to send back to AHGBC to re-review. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Finance Chair. The idea committee Chair.
This is just more for information for us senators. How many more over 10 10K requests are we going to have like in the remainder of the semester?
There's only one more for the rest of the semester, but there's about 4 that are like right under that $10,000 limit. And yes, there also could be more as well. I think we're expecting on one more just based off the 10,000 requests that we received in the past last year.
Senator Lillet?
Can you just provide a little bit more context on why we're no longer funding food for these events? I believe that was a new, standard operation.
I don't have the exact reasons. I believe that was decided, that was even before that $80 per person amount. When I look back at the minutes for that 22-23 year, there wasn't anything specific that was like why we should fund against food. I think that this request, the bigger costs come from the travel and the lodging and the like transportation.
Next on Senator Jordan?
Sorry, I know this was asked before, but what was the amounts that were spent from the previous allocations for the last years that they attended the tournaments?
Yes. I can just go over like those previous numbers as well. Last year, 2024, that it was requested for 40,000 and 40,300. The actual amount spent was, the actual amount allocated was 20,250. How much was actually allocated to any kind of cost and used by rugby was 11,600. Looking back at the year before was 2023. It was requested for 31,000. The total amount allocated was 20,790, and the actual amount spent was 13,000.
I believe that is all for staff. Oh, the president.
Something to consider when you all are discussing about how much to allocate for the men's rugby team is how you voted upon POI and how you funded that, because you did follow the ASGPC recommendation, and I want you all to take that into consideration on how you decide to fund the rest of the incoming 10K requests, because that does affect student orgs and how they view ASG as a whole. So just some food for thought.
And touching, I guess going to what Morgan said as well, if you do choose to increase the amount that we're allocating per person, that will change for the rest of the semester. So if there's any upcoming championship games, any upcoming conferences that are still in queue to be reviewed, they will be given whatever is decided because of the similar cost, and just to be equitable for the rest of the semester.
The clerk.
Alright, so just for like everyone's information, we gave POI $14,355. This is because it's an on-campus event with expected to be 495 people. However, this is a sports club, so it's a whole different thing, right? And then, not only that, they're sending less people, but it's for a multitude of days, except for boys, it's only a couple of hours. So I just want to have everyone have that information in their minds when we think about this, because, yeah, cool.
Another thing as well, some of these locations are really far, and obviously cost for flights are a lot more expensive if you go across the country versus just up around the state. ASGBC has previously discussed trying to an amount that we can put for like conferences or any kind of championships that are like further away. However, it's been really difficult to find a number like per mile that can be implemented and be maintained consistent to every organization.
The sustainability coordinator.
Hi, I was just wondering, if they allocated the 20,000 last year when they asked for the 40,000, how did that like look difference-wise with like this year and the allocation per person? I don't know if that makes sense.
Sorry, give me 1 second. But 2024, that $80 per person was still in the funding guide. I believe ASGBC's recommendation was $100 per person, and then it was voted in Senate to raise it to $150 per person. That is per night as well.
The coordinator.
Hi, just asking, like, what's the difference between their circumstances this semester and compared to last year and the year before that, when it comes to allocating $80 per person rather than the $150 like you said?
For 2022, I don't think there were guidelines, 2023, I don't think there were any guidelines for this. But for the 2024, AHGBC still kind of stuck around the $80 per person. I do not remember the exact Senate conversation that was occurring, but it was decided to give it $150. Yeah.
The idea committee chair.
Just a quick question. If the 80 were to be changed to another number, how much of a financial burden would that leave on us for the rest of the semester?
I do not have the exact amount, but if you were to go based off that 150 from last year, it'd be about double the amount that we're recommending this year.
For clerk of the Senate.
This is for everyone's information that was not here last year. I was one of the people actually fought for rugby to get a lot more last year. That's why there was a big increase in that. But the reason why it's so much more money last year is that it was 150 per person. Now it's $80. So just for your information.
I believe that is the last person on staff. Anyone else? The idea committee chair.
I move for a 5-minute recess.
Second.
There's been a motion on the floor that has been seconded for a 5-minute recess. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, we will now move on to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your. All those opposed? And any abstentions? 5-minute recess is over.
So I was doing the math. So 0% they said they can get $20,000 like from their contributions from whatever they're in. That's how much they're gonna put in. That means and minus the pool, which players should be utilizing themselves more. That means $25,000 for more realistic. That's how much music I want to potentially do with it. I divided it. I mean, it's a lot of people. It's players, but it's players who just and then
What if we raise it to 100?
that's what I was saying.
No.
Oh.
Jonathan hit the button.
Yep.